All right, we want to turn now to the terror threat that sparked a worldwide alert this week and closed down U.S. embassies in 22 different countries. Yemen emerging as the focus of that feared attack. Well, today, Yemen says it disrupted an al-Qaeda plot to bomb major oil pipelines and to take over the country's ports. Meanwhile, a suspected U.S. drone strike killed 7 alleged militants in Yemen this morning. It was the 5th attack in Yemen in less than 2 weeks. So all of this happening as the Obama administration is working to release high-value detainees from Guantanamo Bay, most of them to return to Yemen. President Obama meeting with Yemen's president to discuss repatriating the detainees to Yemen, but so far, no breakthroughs. So let's discuss all of this. Lisa Daftari is a Mideast journalist and Fox News contributor, and Walid Phares is a Fox News Mideast analyst. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa, let me start with you. As we just said, 5 drone strikes, as far as we know of, from the U.S. in Yemen in less than 2 weeks. And now Yemen this week says that they disrupted a major terrorist plot. So it's hard for us to know what Yemen's relationship is with terrorism. How should we be seeing Yemen and whether or not it's a global ally of ours?
Right. So it's a problem, it seems, for them as much as it is for us. And President Hadi has come out and said to President Obama, it's as much of a problem for us in terms of disrupting our tourism and our oil industry as well. It seems as though they're viewing it as a cancer within their society. But we have to do what's in our interest. And if right now this cancer that's growing in Yemen is the biggest terrorism threat to the U.S. to date. And what we want to connect the dots right here, whatever narrative that the Obama administration is putting forward in terms of there not being a war, let's connect the dots here. We're conducting drone attacks. We have these detainees in Yemen that, in Gitmo rather, that we want to release or kind of transfer. And what are we doing? What's worse than a terrorist is one that's become resilient and vengeful and now wants to come out and come at us again. And what happened in the aftermath of killing Osama bin Laden, the Americans were patting themselves on the back while al-Qaeda became stronger and more resilient and decided to expand in so many ways and became, horizontally much larger and have these, regional cells that are growing. And Yemen is, again, the biggest threat and the one that's grown the largest and is the biggest problem for us currently.
Okay, so Walid, if Yemen is the biggest threat and if it is still a hotbed of terrorist activity and training, are they also a partner in the war on terror, or are they sort of fooling us?
I think al-Qaeda is a great threat inside Yemen against us, but also against the government there and against some secular forces inside Yemen. So the answer is that the Yemeni government is fighting al-Qaeda, but is not fighting al-Qaeda the way we are. They cut deals sometimes. They allow the Salafi jihadists to seize some villages and go after them. So in the final analysis, the current Yemeni government basically is fighting al-Qaeda, but not with a U.S. strategy. And we need to fix that. We need to have our partners fighting with us in one joint strategy. So when there is a movement, when there is a group of jihadists or al-Qaeda in Yemen targeting us only without targeting the government, they need to move against them. It's not a Yemeni war with al-Qaeda, it's an international war with al-Qaeda.
So, Walid, before I go back to Lisa, which I will in a second, do you think that it is wise for President Obama to consider releasing some Guantanamo detainees back to Yemen?
It has to do with Gitmo. To me, Gitmo is not a waiting room. It's not a transit hub for individual criminals who will have to be returned to their countries. That's what the administration think it is. In reality, it's a detention center in a war against the terrorists, and there are 2 kinds of people inside of Gitmo, may I remind the audience. One, there are war criminals. Those war criminals, you don't return to those countries. You prosecute under military ruling or under international law. 2, enemy combatant. Yeah, you may negotiate returning enemy combatant, but you've got to make sure that these are not hardcore jihadists. We've returned some to Arabia, to Saudi Arabia, and the Saudi Arabians told us first thing that happened, they were released and then they rejoined the battlefield. So I am not very comfortable with returning, a number of jihadists from Guantanamo without making that earlier determination.
Lisa, very quickly, what should be done with these Yemeni detainees?
Well, as Walid said, it's hard to negotiate with a partner. If we're negotiating with the president of Yemen, how can we really know for sure that we're going to have, we're not going to have a recurrence of more terrorists on the street and again have these recycled terrorists on the streets? What we're doing, it's actually a war on terror, even though it's not being called that. These drone strikes, we're pinpointing what these threats are. And as much as we can say that we're not doing enough, I know that the Obama administration and President Obama does see this as a major threat. And this acknowledgement this week and in weeks going forward is the first step to really participating and fully making the public aware that we are at war with them.
Lisa Daftari, Walid Phares, always nice to talk to you both. Thank you.
Thank you.